I'm Mark Janes. Welcome to the Firestone broadcast booth. Here on the Advanced Auto Parts IndyCar Radio Network, happy to be joined in the broadcast booth by Nick Yeoman. Nick, you've already been busy today.
Yeah, we already had one Indy Lights qualifying session in the books this morning. A very spirited qualifying session, in fact. That set the grid for race number 2, which will green flag tomorrow morning at 9:45 Eastern. Young Colton Herta, just 16 years old, Mark, grabbed the pole for that race. That last name, if it sounds familiar, that is the son of Brian Herta, IndyCar veteran, did a great job this morning. Herta and Urrutia on the front row for race number 2 tomorrow.
Well, we're going to use these sessions. Normally we save race day to talk to winners of the Indy Lights presented by Cooper Tire, but we're actually going to use our practice and qualifying sessions to get to know these stars of tomorrow as we go green here. Happy to have Aaron Telitz in the booth with us from Bilardi Auto Racing, and interesting weekend. Aaron, first of all, welcome.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, happy to have you here. Of course, you joined us in the booth last year, but P1 for race 1, P10 for race number 2. Talk about the difference in the qualifying efforts in the two sessions.
Yeah, the Bilardi Auto Racing guys gave me a great car for both sessions. Really, the big difference was hitting a ton of traffic in Q2 on my second tire run. So I think on my first tire run, I was P1 or P2 when I pitted, and then when I went back out, never got another clean lap in, and everybody else improved. So slid down the grid to 10th, but I know my car is fast, so I think I'll be able to battle from there.
Now, Nick Yeoman and I went around this course in a golf cart and a construction lift. I'm guessing your car feels a little different when you go around it. Tell us about some of the more challenging portions of this fabulous layout here at St. Petersburg. Yeah,
definitely. This is my 4th year being here. The big difference this year is they completely changed how turn 3 is, as you guys know. So there's a huge bump there, and now they basically rerouted us around the bump where it's much more narrow and tight, still fast, but very technical. And then the track's got some really good high-speed flowing sections over in turns 11 and 12, nice and high speed. So, it's got a little bit of everything, which is great.
The most important portion in terms of your setup, we've talked to drivers over the years, and they have differing views and differing philosophies, but do you want to be good off of that final turn so you can use the momentum of this long airport runway straightaway?
Yeah, definitely. St. Pete and most street courses are all about power down, so how quickly you can get back on the throttle and shoot down the next street to the next braking zone. That's pretty much all it is here is, 90-degree corners, lots of 90-degree corners, 180-degree corner coming onto the straightaway, and just getting the power on as early as you can.
Well, Nick Yeoman, a couple of sessions yesterday. Marco Andretti fast in P1 for the Verizon IndyCar Series, and after the second session, Scott Dixon was P1. Interesting to note, this is one of the trophies Scott Dixon doesn't have on the mantle at home, even though he's been the bridesmaid, if you will, here a couple of times. But they have, I think, caught up nicely in terms of going back to that Honda power plant, because Dixie with a time of 1:02.55.91.
Very few racetracks that Scott Dixon has gone to that he hasn't won to. 12 career starts here at St. Petersburg and still looking for that first win. Really good day for that Chip Ganassi crew yesterday, as you mentioned, switching from Chevrolet to Honda. They put 3 in the top 4 when it all shook out yesterday. Dixon was the fastest. Kanaan was 3rd. Charlie Kimball was 4th. No surprise to see Will Power up there in the top 5 as well. How about Sebastian Bourdais, though, Mark? He makes the switch over to the Dale Coyne Racing Team with Honda. They paired him up with Craig Hampson. That combination yielded a lot of success in the old Champ Car days. Off the truck, fast for Sebastian Bourdais. So, pretty interesting day. Joseph Newgarden was fast as well in his maiden weekend driving for Team Penske. That was one of the big stories of the offseason. But most importantly, Mark, just awful impressed with the speed the Hondas showed and the Ganassi camp in their first weekend back with the Honda logo on those race cars.
If you like a decent breeze, sunshine, and temperatures in the 70s, you will love this day at St. Petersburg. Let's get more specific about the conditions and welcome in Jake Query.
That breeze, actually, Mark, kind of pushes those cars into turn number 1. It is at their back as they work their way away from the water here in St. Petersburg. As always, it is a spectacular day in terms of the sunshine. Now, earlier yesterday, I noticed that it wasn't as humid. Sometimes we've seen a lot of humidity here. I think that air will thicken up just a little bit as we get set for the race conditions tomorrow. There is speculation and some chance of a little bit of rain tomorrow. You always have a chance of a pop-up shower here and there in St. Petersburg. We'll see if that affects conditions for the race tomorrow. But as for today, it is 74 degrees, not a cloud in the sky. Track temperature, which will inevitably heat up, is at 91 degrees. So off to a great start here on this day that ultimately will end with qualifying for the Verizon IndyCar Series in St. Petersburg. Let's go down pit road to another of our pit reporters here on the Advanced Auto Parts IndyCar Radio Network. It's Katie Osborne.
Well, one of the new faces in Andretti Autosport is Takuma Sato this year, trying to convert the consistency, the speed that he's had, into really those consistent results. Well, unfortunately, yesterday in practice number 2, he ended up hitting the wall. I talked to Ziggy with Andretti Autosport here this morning, and he said they really put the car back to normal. They made normal adjustments, but they're really still working through that brake package. It's the third setup of the weekend for Takuma Sato. He said actually the whole Andretti Autosport team, they're really trying to get a feel for that brake package. It's really something that's causing them some issues here throughout the weekend already.
Again, we're happy to have Aaron Telitz from the Mazda Road to Indy, the Indy Lights presented by Cooper Tire, in the booth with us. And so, Aaron, talk about the change. We talked about the change in the format in terms of shortening the sessions for the Verizon IndyCar Series, giving them another set of tires, the Firestone Reds, 45-minute sessions instead of minute 15 sessions. How do you feel about the changes they made to the structure of the Indy Lights in terms of having 2 full qualifying sessions now?
Yeah, I actually really enjoy that. I think it's great the way they're doing it now, where you've got separate qualifying sessions for each one of your races, where before it was kind of a combination of your times in qualifying and maybe your best lap in race number 1 that set the grid then for race 2. The big change is that we don't have a lot of practice before we go qualifying. We had 40 minutes or so of practice before we headed into qualifying, so it's really important to be fast straight away right off of the truck. The IndyCar guys getting quite a bit of time to do some extra practice. That's huge for them.
Just an overall observation. There are many, many things that separate you guys from us, but I got to ask it, when you get to a place like this and maybe on an install lap or maybe on a parade lap or something, do you ever just look around and think, man, this is a cool place when you're in the cockpit? Or are you just so focused you don't have time? Certainly can't do that during the race, but are there times you look around and think, man, this place is cool?
Yeah, not while I'm in the car. I don't really look around too much and think, man, this place is cool. But, I like walking around and watching from different sections of the racetrack, and that's when you really get to see how awesome of a place it was. Yeah. Last night I was up on top of an apartment building, AER downtown, and you could see the racetrack and out into the bay, and it's just it's an incredible setting here for a race.
Not a bad way to make a living, is it?
No, it's awesome.
Good. Let's go back to Katie Osborne.
Here in Hinch's pit, he actually just pulled in here right now. But one thing to note is in practice 2, they thought they were having a gearbox issue, but they found out that it was actually an electrical issue that was causing it to stick a gear. It's fixed now, and right now it looks like he's going to get back out and run.
Nick Yeoman, an issue in turn 10, the spot that you'll have throughout the race.
Yeah, I've been watching that here the last 4 or 5 minutes as the 18 car of Sebastian Bourdais has tested one of the runoff areas here on this 14-turn, 1.8-mile street course here at St. Petersburg. But watching that area turn 10, those drivers, of course, love to get up on that curbing. It's a tight left-hander, can be awful fast as well, very tricky. That's where we saw Will Power crash yesterday. But there are some blue banners up against the outside wall of turn number 10, and I don't know if somebody got a hold of those banners at some point or if they've just, the force of those cars getting so close has pulled some of those banners off the wall. But they've been shredded, and we've seen bits and pieces of that stuff flying up in the air. Not big of an issue, Mark, to bring out a full course caution, but when vantage points mean everything in these race cars, those banners hanging off the walls there certainly going to be a little distracting.
45-minute session, the final one before we go qualifying at 2:50 Eastern this afternoon. Third member of our broadcast crew on pit road today is celebrating a birthday. I won't sing to him. But happy birthday nonetheless. Hello, Dave First.
No, you can sing.
No,
that's
I can't.
fine. No, go ahead.
No, that's fine.
Oh, wait, we have to pay ASCAP fees
we'll
or something like that.
We'll find another way to
don't
celebrate your birthday.
Okay,
sure.
Well, we'll take care of that later on tonight. Hey, great to be back. Good morning, everybody. Back here on pit road, and I'm in the 28 pit of one Ryan Hunter-Ray. A lot of work yesterday on the calipers, the brake calipers on this Honda. A lot of Hondas, in fact, up and down pit road are dealing with some brake issues so far this weekend. And I think that's going to be a storyline that's going to be interesting, something to really watch throughout the course of the weekend. Remember, this year they've switched to PFC brakes, a lot different from the Brembo that the IndyCar used for years and years and years. So really, there's a lot of adjustment, not only for the teams and technically what they do to these race cars, but the drivers are driving a little bit differently because of these new brake calibers, rotors, pads, and whatnot. That is something that a lot of these guys are paying big adjustments to, really paying attention to. And that's why Ryan Hunter-Reay yesterday was only able to do 8 laps or so, because they were changing some brake calibers as well. I've said brake caliber more in the last minute than I think I have the rest of my career. But anyway, I think really this is going to be something we need to keep an eye on this weekend.
Nick, let's take a look at time and scoring. For now, Marco is P1.
Yeah, and how about that Honda once again showing some strength. They've got 4 of the top 5. Marco Andretti, Max Chilton, Scott Dixon. They go 1, 2, 3. Simon Pagenaud is 4th quick. Tony Kanaan is 5th. Rest of the top 10. Elio Castroneves, Will Power, Alexander Rossi, Takuma Sato, and Joseph Newgarden. Quickest lap of this session, again, by Marco Andretti, Mark, at a minute 2.569.
Let's go back to pit road. Katie.
Sebastian Bourdais returning to Dale Coyne Racing this year. I talked to him earlier this morning, and he said, wow, it's just so great to get the gang back together. He said everyone's in that frame of mind. They're getting their expectations all at the same level. And he just wants to go out and race, not think about it, and not set the bar too high. He said he's really exceptionally excited to be working again with Craig Hampson and Oliver Boysen from the engineers that are on number 18 car. But a lot of these members are the same that he won championships with Newman Haas Racing, guys.
About 34 minutes remaining in this 45-minute session before we go qualifying a little bit later on today on the streets of St. Petersburg for the Firestone broadcast booth. This is the Advanced Auto Parts IndyCar Radio Network.
The finish line, the victory lap, the trophy. I'm Mario Andretti, and I know there's nothing sweeter than winning an IndyCar race. And that feeling doesn't stop at the finish line. Because when you drive on Firestone tires, the official tire of the Verizon IndyCar Series, you'll realize that you don't need a track to drive like a champion.
Whatever you drive a Firestone.
Just what is the Indy experience?
It's 80,000 screaming fans.
It's 11 exciting races over 3 days.
It's the Ferris wheel and the interactive fan zone for the kids. And it's wine tasting. Yes, wine tasting for moms and dads.
This is the Honda Indy Grand Prix of Alabama, presented by America's First Federal Credit Union at Barber Motorsports Park, April 21st through 23rd.
Don't miss the Indy experience.
Purchase your tickets today at barberracingevents.com.
Zoom Motorsports, the phenomenal promoter for the race at Barber Motorsports Park. Their CEO and President Gene Holman will join us tomorrow during this Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. We look forward to not only visiting with him during the race tomorrow, but certainly visiting that fabulous facility just outside of Birmingham, Alabama. Mark James, Nick Yeoman in the booth, having to be joined by Bilardi Auto Racing's Aaron Telitz, and getting ready to go racing today and tomorrow. Aaron, let's talk a little bit about 2016. Things worked out pretty well, that Pro Mazda Championship. Pretty dominant season for you.
Yeah, it started off with a bang here at St. Petersburg. I qualified on pole for race 2 and ended up winning that race. Came in second place in race 1, but then my teammate Pato O'Ward went on a huge run, winning 6 of the next 7 races, I think it was, and I found myself in a pretty big points hole midway through the season, but turned it around at my home race at Road America and brought it home from there.
Yeah, that was quite a weekend for sure. Now, F2000 prior to that, so we've asked Zach Veach and others that we've had in the booth over the years, where does the biggest jump from in terms of adjustment and the difference in the race cars, from F2000 to Pro Mazda or Pro Mazda to Indy Lights?
Definitely for me, it's been Pro Mazda to Indy Lights. That's been the biggest jump. Just based on lap times, it's a huge step compared to USF 2000 to Pro Mazda. Just the Indy Lights car does everything so much better than the Pro Mazda or USF 2000 car does. Tires are more grippy and bigger. Engine's got more horsepower. The chassis got better grip. There's more aero grip. Just does everything better.
So being a Wisconsin native, how cool is it to be running for a fellow Wisconsinner in Brian Bilardi?
It's awesome. Brian's a great guy, and it's a lot of fun driving for someone that is from Wisconsin as well. There's always a good connection there. We're big Packer fans, so that's it's a great way to build a little bit of trust in our team.
Pretty good operation for sure that Brian Bellardi has put together, and Nick Yeoman, has some pretty significant trophies on his mantle in the race shop.
It's pretty impressive. Got an Indy Lights championship with Gavi Chavez a couple years ago. They scored the most race wins a year ago with Zach Veach and Felix Rosenquist going to victory lane 6 times, and then of course and Aaron can attest to that. They have on the outside of where they set up their paddock. They've still got the picture of that 4-wide finish that Peter Dempsey pulled off that incredible win, the Freedom 100 a handful of years ago. But, the operation that Brian Bellardi has built in a very short time, I mean, it is first class. They show up, and those race cars are fast. I mean, it's proof of what Aaron and Santi Urrutia and Shelby Blackstock have done so far this weekend. It's an awful, impressive organization, and they very quickly, Mark, have become a powerhouse in the Indy Lights Series.
What about that organization has impressed you the most in the amount of time that you've been with them?
Just their level of preparation. The guys are always working on the cars back at the shop and getting them ready to go. You know, they're a full-time Indy Lights team. That's all they focus on, where some of the other Indy Lights teams maybe have other series that they run in, where with Bellardi, all their focus is just on Indy Lights and doing the best they can there. So I think for us, that's an advantage.
Scott Dixon has gone back to P1. Will Power, Alex Rossi, Marco Andretti, as we say that. Charlie Kimball slots into P3. Power is P2. Rossi, Andretti, the top 5. The top 10. Castro Neves, Chilton, Rahal, Piggott, and Pagano. Connor Daly, currently 19th quick. Let's get an update on the driver of the 4 machine from Katie.
Yeah, he just got back out on the track. I talked to him earlier today about really how he was feeling in the car. He said, well, we're definitely working on a lot of things right now and getting comfortable. He just really wants to get out there and see how it comes together. He was just in the pit there for quite some time with the umbrella over him, and they said they were changing their rear springs. A lot of things that this team is working through to get Connor out on top.
21 cars set to roll off the grid, and James Hinchcliffe now goes to P1. So the mayor of Hinchtown with a time of 101.7415. Back to pit road, and Jake Query.
Checking in on Charlie Kimball's team. Right now he finds himself 6th quickest on the charts. He has Dario Franchitti in his ear. Of course, Dario Franchitti kind of rotates through for Chip Ganassi, at times advising with Max Chilton, also to Charlie Kimball, who now is up to 2nd quickest Kimball is at this time. One thing about Kimball that's interesting, if you're looking at his car, we became so accustomed, Mark, I know, to becoming familiar with that Novo Nordisk paint scheme, that blue and orange for Charlie Kimball. This is his 9th year with the company, his 7th with them sponsoring him in the Verizon IndyCar Series. His paint scheme this weekend, as we have seen at times, including at Indianapolis, is Trasiba. It is a black and green, kind of a fluorescent green paint scheme. That is a product produced by Novo Nordisk. It is an insulin that simply has a longer lifespan once he takes it. So Charlie Kimball, a diabetic at one time, would have to take insulin twice a day. With the Trasiba insulin, he actually can take it, and it has at times lasted for him more than, say, just one full day. So it obviously decreases the amount of times that he takes the insulin. Kimball has become a spokesperson for the company. Mark did a worldwide tour, did Charlie Kimball, going around and speaking about his experience as a diabetic and how Novo Nordisk allows him to continue throughout his day-to-day operations. He went to 3 different continents in the off-season around the world. Told me the best place he went, he enjoyed Copenhagen, Denmark. It'd be a pretty cool thing to do.
Top 10 in points a year ago, finishing 9th. And Nick, a guy that we see in the top 10 right now in timing and scoring, finished 19th in points a year ago. I know Max Chilton's hoping for a good year here in 2017.
I think last year was a huge learning experience for Max Chilton, and I think he would tell you that firsthand. Not a lot of great results to show for that rookie season, but you have to expect that in year 2. Again, he's got a couple guys to learn from, 3 guys really, with a ton of experience as Charlie Kimball has quickly become a veteran in this sport, and then certainly 2 of the best in Tony Kanaan and Scott Dixon. So I think expectations are pretty high for Max Chilton. Certainly needs to show some improvement from a year ago. But, Marcus, we've talked about it before. If Max Chilton's going to improve and he's going to consistently become a top 10 guy, then you got to take someone that's in the top 10 and then bump him out. And with this field, the quality of these drivers, it's really hard to find a spot, find a weakness for a guy that's at the bottom to rise towards the top.
Yeah, Aaron, as you look up and down these 21 cars here, boy, you win this championship, you've done something. There's some pretty talented drivers there. It's a pretty stout field, huh?
Oh, yeah, no doubt. From top to bottom, all those guys have done incredible things with their career. So to be knocking on the doorstep of getting in there and going wheel to wheel with some of those guys is pretty exciting for me.
Do you find those drivers very receptive to you guys in the Mazda Road to Indy? I mean, if you want to pick their brain, you find them to be very, very approachable?
Oh, definitely. All those guys are really approachable. I mean, most of them, I think, have gone through the Mazda Road to Indy, or at least Indy Lights. Most of them, I think, at the top right now, James Hinchcliffe's in Indy Lights, Charlie Kimball, Joseph Newgarden, obviously. Max Chilton did 2015 in Indy Lights.
Sure.
So, all those guys have kind of came up the same way that we're working on right now. So they're receptive. If you want to talk to them about something or pick their brain, they're totally okay with that.
Nick Yeoman, the 26 crew, going to have to take a look at the rear of that car after he brushed the outside retaining wall.
Yeah, it's already been a pretty interesting and rough weekend for Takuma Sato, who has made the jump from AJ Foyt Racing to Andretti Autosport in the offseason. Yesterday, he had a big off in turn 14, tore up the front of that race car, and then just moments ago, we saw that car go a little wide and get the left side tires up against the wall. Looked like he whitewalled the tires, Mark. Immediately he brought that Andretti Autosport Honda back to pit lane, and certainly the crew's going to pour over that race car. Not been a very good weekend for Takuma Sato, only 18th fastest, turning 8 laps so far in this session.
Defending series champion Simon Pagno, currently P14. An update from his pit box from Katie.
Real quick, the question is how would you determine chasing the championship again? Well, for Simon Pagno, he says he's not defending it. He's actually attacking it this year. And for him, that really begins this weekend.
Let's go to Dave first.
Well, if you have children, you might be familiar with the hit TV show Mickey and the Roadster Racers. I know I've seen it a couple of times. It's on the Disney Junior channel. Doug Bresnahan is the chief marketing officer for Andretti Autosport, and over the weekend announced a new program, a partnership with the show, with the network. This is a lot of fun. Tell us about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Dave. Great partnership with Disney, great collaboration with IndyCar as well, and we are really fortunate to have Disney Junior on board and Mickey and the Roadster Racers. It's going to be a great activation, not only St. Pete this weekend, but also Long Beach and the Indy 500. Disney's going to have an activation zone, a lot of unique things, programming for families and kids. And, for us to be part of it's really great. I mean, Michael and Ryan both have young children. And, I know their kids are active fans and watchers of the show. So it's a great tie-in.
All right. So you got to check out the Kids Zone with your children, of course. What do you find when you come to it?
Well, they're going to have a lot of interactive activities. I think a little photo booth. There's going to be special autograph sessions with Ryan Hunter-Reay, and occasionally might sprinkle in some of our other drivers there. Mickey's going to be showing up, and I think some other maybe surprise guests as well. But, really just really bringing that family-oriented focus back to IndyCar there.
I'm sorry, you had me at Mickey.
Yeah.
Mickey's going to be here this weekend.
Yeah, that's what we're hearing. Yeah, I think Mickey will be here tomorrow. That's
cool.
Yeah,
and as well as Long Beach and Indianapolis. I mean, we often talk about in the sport connecting with the next generation. This is a great way to do that.
Yeah, and that's what we were so intrigued with the program as well. I mean, one thing about IndyCar, it offers a little bit for everybody, right? Older folks, younger folks. 20-somethings, and now we've got this great program with Disney and IndyCar where we're really going after the family atmosphere and young kids, young families, and I think we're all fans of Mickey anyway, no matter how old we are, right? But
yeah. Who's most excited? It has to be Hunter-Reay's 2 kids, right?
They're over the top, and in fact, what's crazy about this is one of their kids just celebrated a birthday over the weekend, and it was actually Mickey and the Roadster Racers themed, and that was before any of this was coming online. They had already had it planned, and so this program's really taken over, and I think everybody's really excited about it.
Here's the thing: if you watch the TV show, and who hasn't if you haven't had kids? But anyway, it's a great show. Mickey drives a yellow and red number 28 in the show.
Yeah, that was another unique coincidence, I guess you could say. The 28 is really interesting, of course. For Mickey, 28 represents 1928, which was the first time the first Mickey Mouse cartoon ever aired. And, of course, with Ryan, 28 represents the 28 million people that have survived cancer. So 2 different message points there, but definitely a great common tie and link.
Somehow it all comes together. Congratulations on the announcement this weekend.
Thank you for that. And, be sure if you come to the race, check out the kids' zone within the IndyCar activation area, and I'm sure it'll be a great place to go.
Doug Bresnahan, again, Chief Marketing Officer, Andretti Autosport. Great program and a great show. Mickey and the Roadster Racers at every Verizon IndyCar Series event this season.
Good stuff, Dave. And Nick, this comes at the same time that the New York Times publishes an article in which it says that the Verizon IndyCar Series no longer spinning its wheels.
Yeah, it seems like that the New York Times and their reporters have noticed certainly the momentum with this series. I love this partnership with Disney, Mark, because you talk about the demographics you got to hit for IndyCar. The 40 or 50 and older crowd can really bask in the history of this sport. When we go to Indianapolis and celebrate the history of open wheel racing in America, of course, the sleek look of these race cars, come in and see those cars flying past you, that's going to grab that 16 to 30-year-old crowd. And then to have something like that, the partnership with Disney, to get them while they're really young, it's only going to pay benefits, Mark. So it's a pretty cool partnership. Excited to hear about it.
Aaron Thielitz from the Indy Lights joins us here in the booth. Aaron, we'll get to your comment in just a minute about sponsorship. Give you a minute or two to think about that. Before we do that, let's go to Jay Query on pit road.
It's interesting when you run into people on pit road and you start to think to yourself, I wonder if this means that perhaps something is brewing. I'm walking around and I find Bob Lazier, of course, father of Buddy Lazier, former racer yourself, and Lazier Racing Partners. Now, I'll be honest, this isn't to say that you weren't here, but typically in years past, it's around May when we start to see you guys putting together a package for the Indy 500. Where do things stand right now for Lazier Racing Partners in the IndyCar Series?
Right now, we're doing all of the tough items that take a lot of time. Like we're having everything crack checked and getting everything ready to go that way. And we're kind of hoping to keep things together with Tom Burns as well, from last year. And but we're fully committed to going and getting into Indy.
Okay, so with that, in the years past, let's take the last 2 years, Bob, it seems as though you guys now are getting the ball rolling even easier, or even earlier, I should say. Accurate to say that?
It is very accurate to say that. We have maybe a few more hurdles this year than we had last year, but we certainly started very quickly. But also, last year, in the race itself, our car was terrifically good. It was very, very competitive, and so we're starting at a higher level this year than we ended last year, or at that same level.
Is there ever the thought, in terms of the team and Lazier Racing Partners, yourself and, of course, your son, Buddy Lazier, the Indy 500 winner from 1996, is there thought to eventually getting a team that would run races outside of Indianapolis, perhaps with another driver in the cockpit?
Oh, absolutely. No question about it. That's what that's what we're hoping for, And one of the drivers that we have on our list is Buddy's son, Flinney, who was second in the runoffs last year at 16. He was 17. So things are going very well with him as well, and we would really love to run the entire series.
I appreciate the time. We wish you the best of luck. Look forward to seeing you in Indianapolis.
Thanks, Jake.
All right, that's Bob Lazier, guys, Lazier Racing Partners. And it looks as if, Mark, it happens each and every year that Buddy Lazier comes back. And again, this is a guy that's in the top 8 in terms of all-time laps turned at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in Buddy Lazier.
96 Indianapolis 500 winner, but a former series champion, Buddy Lazier. Ryan Hunter-Reay is P12. An update on him from Katie.
Well, of course, there's ongoing conversation about the brakes here at St. Pete, especially for this team. They are still continuously working on this brake package to optimize it for the race. I was talking to some of the guys here, and they said obviously they want to get all their drivers up in the top 6, fast 6. Now, one thing to note, Ryan Hunter-Reay is improving today. He's running quicker, more laps in, and it's something that the team is definitely feeling some positive vibes for.
16th quick in the combined speeds of the practice sessions yesterday was Ryan Hunter-Reay. He's bumped that up a couple to P12. Now, let's get back to Aaron Thielitz, who joins us in the booth today. Let's talk about your efforts. Which is more difficult, throwing a race car around the streets of St. Petersburg or finding that badly needed sponsorship?
Oh, it's definitely finding that badly needed sponsorship. That's got to be the toughest part of any up-and-coming driver's job, is just to find the funding to go racing. It's so expensive working your way up through the levels, and to have faithful sponsors. And in my part, I've gotten both faithful sponsors and Mazda scholarships, which has really helped me to work my way up. into Indy Lights.
Well, mention their name, young man.
Absolutely, yeah. My longest running sponsor is Rice Lake Weighing Systems from Rice Lake, Wisconsin. They're a worldwide scale company. If you guys ever fly Delta, you're weighing your bags on a Rice Lake Weighing Systems scale. They make truck scales, rail scales, crane scales, medical scales, you name it. Actually, Belardi Auto Racing's race scales got sent up to Rice Lake to get recalibrated, new load cells put in before the race weekend here. So there's some advantages of having a scale company as a main sponsor as well. Another one of my main sponsors is Maury's Mazda, which is an auto group out of Minneapolis, and they've got Mazda stores over in Wisconsin as well. So they're a big one. We do some fun events before Road America usually. And then another one of my partners is Styled Aesthetic. That's a screen printing company owned by Steve Welk, who also happens to be my driver, coach, and manager. So that helps things out as well. He prints a lot of the Nomex, I think, for most of the IndyCar guys, actually. Okay. So, yeah, it's a good partner as well.
Yeah, we do what we can to help you in that regard for sure. Nick Yeoman, update us on timing and scoring.
I'll tell you what, Mark, the most staggering thing about this practice session with about 15 minutes to go, in the top 9 spots, 8 of those are made up of Honda drivers. And I don't really know how to read into this because we've seen Honda show some speed over the previous years, and then we get to that Verizon, the Fast 6 qualifying, and the Chevrolet start to flex their muscles. But, boy, what a practice session so far for all the drivers in Hondas. James Hinchcliffe, the fastest at a minute 1.741. Sebastian Bourdais is second. Marco Andretti third. Alex Rossi is fourth. Charlie Kimball fifth. Scott Dixon sixth. Ryan Hunter-Reay is seventh. Then you see the first Chevrolet driver. That's our defending Verizon IndyCar Series champion, Simon Pagenaud. Graham Rahal with another Honda in ninth. Elio Castroneves is 10th. The rest of the drivers, Power, Newgarden, Chilton, Kanaan, and Aloshin in the top 15. Hildebrand, Piggott, Daly, Sato, and Jones in the 20th. Carlos Munoz, 21st in the field.
Let's go back to pit road, day first.
Yeah, an opportunity to catch up with Dario Franchitti, a 3-time Indy 500 winner, the winner here at St. Pete back in 2011. Back, signed another contract with his old team, Chip Ganassi Racing, as a, what would you call it, a consultant, a coach? What the heck is your title anyway?
Whatever Chip wants it to be. Yeah, I mean, just, I guess, advisor or whatever, I don't know. The titles aren't important, it's what you do, isn't it? Well, yeah. I get the fun job of working with a bunch of people here at Chip Ganassi Racing that I got to work with, and I was driving, and work with the drivers, the engineers, and just try and help them in any way I can, make them go faster and be more successful if I can.
How's that process going so far this weekend?
Yeah, so far it's been really good. All 4 cars have been pretty good. Max is a little off with his tire when he put new tires on there because he chose to run a long run on Reg yesterday. But all 4 cars look really, really quick. Scott in particular is really in a groove this weekend, and it's one of those situations I watch him and I think I'm actually glad
Scott taking off right now behind.
As I'm leaving, I'm glad I'm not competing against him when he's in this frame of mind and this mood, and the team have got the cars working so well. So it's hopefully it'll continue. We were quick in practice yesterday, but as we've seen, as Chip's fond of saying, practice doesn't pay anything.
Well, here's the situation. I mean, Scott's up big time this weekend in speed. Obviously, Kanaan as well yesterday. Is it the Honda power plant? Is it the new season? What is it right now?
We did a lot of work as a team over the winter. The guys back in Indy from engineering right the way through the organisation, they worked hard. Obviously, the change back to Honda, I think re-energised everybody too. Chevy were a great partner, and we didn't as a team get the job done last year. So the Honda stuff is very good, and the team's working hard. So hopefully, this is a sign of things to come this season.
We expect to see Tony Kanaan back here on pit road momentarily. The guys are getting ready. Last thing, we talked a lot about brakes. It seems like the Hondas especially are chasing the ability to keep their brakes cool out there. Is that something we should be watching the rest of the weekend?
I think it's been a discussion up and down pit lane. We're working very hard to find ways to keep the brake temperature under control. It's difficult when you come in and you heat soak a bit as well, so you'll see everybody removing tires, just trying to cool the brakes as they sit here and heat soak. But being a little gentle on the brake pedal will pay benefits tomorrow, I think. All
right, I'm guessing 2011. It wasn't that long ago. You got fond memories of this place, right?
Oh yeah, loved racing here. Only won it once, but I always loved coming here.
Great to see you. Welcome back. Great to have you back in 2017, too.
Good to be here. Thanks, buddy.
Dario Franchitti, 3-time Indy 500 champion. James Hinchcliffe remains P1 as practice rolls on here to kick things off on this Saturday morning on beautiful streets of St. Pete. Katie.
With Hinchcliffe in first right now, you got to be very excited. Taylor Kyle here, the youngest team manager in the entire paddock here for Schmidt-Peterson Motorsport. Now, this is a new accomplishment for you. Why does this mean so much?
I think it means a lot. The responsibility is great. The challenges are great, but to me it shows the commitment from our team ownership to promote from within and build goals long-term, keep crews long-term, maintain some continuity across the board. I think that's a huge deal for us.
Now, he said literally to promote within. He has been here his entire career, Taylor has, which is absolutely incredible that you're right. They do promote within. What are the expectations for the team this year?
I think the expectations for us are very clear. We need to win. We were at the doorstep a couple times last year. We've got all the support we need, all the equipment we need. We've got the right people. It's time for us to win on a consistent basis now.
You heard him. It's time for them to win, guys.
Yeah, Aaron, interesting thing. Aaron Thielett's our guest in the booth. And, Aaron, not only is this Mazda Road to Indy program designed to help promote drivers and further their careers, but it's a benefit to the crew guys as well.
Oh, definitely. Schmidt-Peterson Motorsports, unfortunately, their Indy Lights program shut down this year. But, crew guys get to work their way up through the ranks, and it looks like, obviously, they're promoting from within there at their organization. And I know that I've watched one of my crew members when I was in USF 2000. He's now actually a mechanic for Carlin right now. So he went from USF 2000. He's up into Indy Lights now. It's great to see that the Mazda Road to Indy not only helps out the drivers, but pretty much everybody in the sport.
So with about 9 minutes remaining in the session, Scott Dixon P1, then Hinch, Canan, Bourdais, Andretti the top 5, Newgarden, Chilton, Rossi, Pagano, Kimball the top 10, 11th Hunter Ray, 12th Power, 13th Rahal, Carlos Munoz 14th, 15th Elio Castroneves, Sato is 16th, Piggott 17th, Mikel Alosian 18th, J.R. Hildebrand is 19th, Connor Daly 20th, Ed Jones 21st. Practice continues in preparation for the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg from the Firestone broadcast booth at St. Pete. This is the Advanced Auto Parts IndyCar Radio Network.
During the 1969 Indy 500, Mario Andretti's crew couldn't get his tire to come off, so he had no choice but to keep driving on it. That tire held up the whole race and took Mario to the winner's circle. Right, Mario?
That's right. If it wasn't for the dependability of Firestone tires, I wouldn't be an Indy 500 champion.
Here's to making more champions with the official tire of the Verizon IndyCar Series. Whatever you drive, drive a Firestone.
Just what is the Indy experience?
It's 80,000 screaming fans.
It's 11 exciting races over 3 days.
It's the Ferris wheel and the interactive fan zone for the kids. And it's wine tasting. Yes, wine tasting for moms and dads.
This is the Honda Indy Grand Prix of Alabama, presented by America's First Federal Credit Union at Barber Motorsports Park, April 21st through 23rd.
Don't miss the Indy experience.
Purchase your tickets today at barberracingevents.com.
That place down there in Leeds, Alabama is not a bad place to hold an IndyCar race, isn't it, Nick?
No, really looking forward to getting down there. That is one of the most picturesque, beautiful racetracks in America there at Barber Motorsports Park. And tell you what, Mark, the racing's been phenomenal. Last year we had Simon Pagano and Graham Rahal slugging it out over the last 10, 15 laps. It was a great race and really is one of the greatest trips we take all year.
Well, let's talk about this one. Scout.com naming the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Pete number 2 in their list of top 100 stadium experiences in 2016. 7th year in a row it's been the IndyCar Series opener. I couldn't remember, did a little research and found that out. 14th year open wheel racing has been held here. It takes 250 workers, 32 days to build the track. This, of course, St. Pete, the 5th largest city in Florida. How about the economic impact? $48 million and more than 1,000 special events held here in this wonderful city. And every time we come here, the skyline continues to change. Growth continues. And I hope that we add to that number in terms of starting the season here. I hope we start the season here for the foreseeable future.
It's become a destination race for any IndyCar fan all across the country to come down here, whether it be for spring break or for a week early, and to experience the birth of a new season. You talk about the track building efforts. It's pretty amazing the way they set up these street course events, and it's absolutely perfect, and the weather's been great. It's a fantastic event. The fan support is certainly there, and I know we've enjoyed coming here for many years.
I've had the chance to be here at Christmas time when the facility is not set up for racing, and it's amazing the transformation that takes place. If you ever get the chance to get down here at a different time during the year, maybe on summer vacation or whatever, come take a look, and I think you'll get a full appreciation for the task. But don't you think it's so very important that the promoters of this race, Green Savory Promotion, I mean, those guys were racers for a long time. They understand the sport, and I think that's paid huge dividends in terms of the success here, Toronto, and at Mid-Ohio, where they're now the track owners, by the way.
Yeah, for sure. And that type of date equity that we talk about from time and time again, it's always very, very big. And speaking of, Mark, Jake Query's
on
got
cue.
more.
Yeah, let's go to Jake Query, who's standing by with Kim Green, as a matter of fact.
Well, here's what's funny. I walk up to Kim Green, and you've been standing like a statue trying to film video with your cell phone for about 10 minutes now. I mean, this is getting hands-on from the very top, right?
You know, my wife has told me to do it because she's very actively involved in our Instagram for the Grand Prix, and she's doing all the posts. So she sent me to pit lane to get some videos that we can send out to all the fans. So I'm working for my wife, which feels kind of difficult, but I'm just doing as I'm told.
There you go. That's a smart guy, right? Okay, let's talk about this event. I remember, some decade and a half ago, seeing the very first blueprints and plans here. And having family in this area, Kim, I know that people here say, hey, it's race weekend. It's become that much of a kind of a date equity within the community, even moving it a week. Where are we now compared to where you would like to see this event from where it was when you first started?
Well, yeah, certainly. We thought we knew a lot about racing when we took this race on in 2005, and we realized we didn't. But we've learned a lot, and what we've certainly found is it's a great venue, just from a racetrack standpoint, and it also shows so well on air, and this area has embraced the race. And we get fans not only from obviously the Midwest and all over the country, but fans from drive all the way from Miami, all the way from Orlando, and come and enjoy the week here. So it's this is the 13th year. We've got equity of the race being in March, around spring break time, and so it's been exciting to help it grow and see it grow. And the last few years we've just seen steady increases in attendance, and I think we put on a good show. I mean, IndyCar is obviously so exciting, so competitive, but then there's the other series, the Road to Indy as well, the Pirelli World Challenge, and the Stadium Truck. So there's something for everybody, along with great food on the infield, lots of different general admission areas to watch, plus the grandstand, plus the suite. So I think we can sort of fit every price bracket, every affordable price bracket for an event. And, we're just excited to be a part of it. And working with the city of St. Petersburg is so good at assisting us and helping organize and put the race on.
In terms of just the evolution, always finding new ways to improve, what areas are still a challenge for you, or what areas are you excited about that fans can maybe experience this year that we haven't seen in years past?
Well, we're certainly always trying to create new areas for the fans, and on the east end of the grandstands there's a new general admission raised standing area that's a cocktail bar. It's a bit hidden. The fans haven't found it yet, but I know they will. Just like our floating yacht club bar over on the water. It took a couple of years for the fans to find that. Now they have. That's a popular spot. We can still grow grandstands here, which is a great thing to be able to do, and suites. And so I think there's lots of things that we can help to grow the event. We're always looking for those certainly unique things to have here that are entertainment just beyond the race cars. So the race cars are the main attraction, but people are also looking for other things. It's more than just a race, it's an event. And as you said, people start realizing it's race week, and they recognize it's race week. And they certainly all the drivers, when they talk to me months ahead, they're ready to go racing again. So it's great to be the leading start-off race for the season, and it's great to work with IndyCar and being a part of that.
Kim Green, your wife, just texted and said the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg Instagram account needs more video to get back to work. I'll let you do it, all right?
Thank you very much. Thanks for being here.
Appreciate it. Kim Green, Mark.
Yeah, it's interesting to note, to show you the level of intelligence of Kim Green. As we mentioned, they own the track at Mid-Ohio. They promote the race in Toronto, but he chose to move here to St. Petersburg and make this his.
You think that was a tough call?
No, again, a very smart man. That's just another indication of it. As the time starts to wind down, 60 seconds left in this session. In fact, let's go back to Katie Osborne on pit road.
Scott Dixon just had his last pit stop of this practice. They said they're adjusting certain things in the front and the rear of the car, but one thing that they said that they're not as worried as they thought they maybe would have been coming into this race with that Honda package. They're really excited to see as TK's in second and Scott Dixon was in first at practice yesterday.
45 seconds left in this session. Dixie continues P1, then Hinchcliffe, Rossi, Chilton, Bourdais, Andretti, Hunter-Reay, Kanaan, Newgarden, and Power. Got to admit, it's somewhat satisfying. We're supposed to remain neutral, but it's good to see Marco having a pretty good weekend. Question is, will it transfer over to qualifying?
Well, and again, that is the biggest question mark that I think I'm going to take away from this practice session, because Marco and 7 other Honda drivers make up the top 8. Will that carry over to qualifying? We'll see. A lot of times you strap on those alternate red tires and those Chevrolets come to life. But boy, I think there's at least got to be some confidence in that Andretti Autosport camp. Hasn't been a good weekend for Takuma Sato, but for Hunter-Reay, Andretti, Rossi, all their mark in the top 7 as the checkered flag flies on this session.
We'll have more comments about this as the weekend progresses, but Nick, your thoughts on the announcement over the weekend coming in here that now all of the major manufacturers associated with this series, Dallara, Firestone, and those all have re-upped multi-year extensions. Tell you what, hold that thought. Yeah. Let's go to Dave first on pit road. You have Elio. He finishes P15 in the session, Dave.
Yeah, 15th quick here in the session as we get set for qualifying later this afternoon. Of course, Elio, a 3-time winner here on the streets of St. Pete. So it brings you a smile when you come here. In fact, you got here early this week, extra early. Is that right?
That's right, Dave. I was so excited to come back and start the season, and I came here on Tuesday, and I realized, bad planning, but I realized that not even the trucks were here. So I'm like, whoa, well, you know what?
You realize the race is Sunday. You got here on Tuesday.
Exactly. So it's great. It's great to come here to St. Pete. I mean, the warm welcome of the fan is always fantastic. And I tell you what, everyone here in the series is excited to start the season now. So we're really looking forward to qualifying and the race tomorrow. Hopefully the weather holds up. And but I'm really excited to be here.
Tell me about practice here today.
Really good. We have some issues that we have to stop early, but I felt really, really good. And right now, I just gotta wait and see with the red tires.
Do you care to offer up what those issues were while you stopped early today?
Well, that's you asked my boss here. He's right beside me.
Roger's right behind you. I probably shouldn't ask that. I don't know.
Exactly, but in the end of the day, that's why we have a great team here. We're just gonna obviously take a look and come back strong for qualifying.
Right. We'll see you in qualifying. Good luck the rest of the day.
Thank you very much.
Elio Castroneves, 3-time champion here on the streets of St. Pete. To Jake Query.
Sebastian Bourdais is out of the car that he is now piloting for Dale Coyne. So I want to begin with this. Obviously, you're like a duck to water, man. You get in one of these cars, and I think your talent is pretty obvious. But is it difficult with a new team? And just take me through working and acclimating with Dale Coyne Racing.
It's just a little difficult because we didn't have much testing, but, you know, it's back home for me. With obviously Olivier carrying over from last year and Craig that, you know, I know and he knows me better than anyone as far as racing is concerned. So, yeah, it's working out pretty good. Just got to keep on tweaking it and work on that car and trying to get the 18 to the front. You know, it's obviously extremely tight up front, so a tiny bit of a difference is going to make a big position swing. So we'd better get our A game this afternoon.
How difficult is it, or is it at all, to go from one engine to the other? A year ago, piloting a Chevrolet and now to a Honda. What are the differences?
You know, they're two great partners. You know, very happy with what we're getting right now with Honda, but, you know, I didn't really have anything to say about the quality of the opposition. So, no, just really happy that we've been able to put a great group of people together, and hopefully all the hard work is going to pay off.
Impressive session for you today. We'll let you get back and debrief, and best of luck to you the rest of the weekend.
Thank you.
That's Sebastian Bourdais. Katie?
Scott Dixon finishing P1 in that practice. Yesterday, you're coming off of a practice where you also finished P1. What is working for you guys today? Because obviously something is.
I think, the off-season has definitely been a lot of work for everybody at Ganassi, but, we seem to have found a few different things. I think the reset for us, we made a lot of mistakes last year and needed to, look deep inside the team and try and regroup a little bit. And I think that's definitely played dividends, but, it's practice, so it doesn't mean anything, doesn't pay anything. Hopefully we can have some good momentum later today in qualifying with the GE car, and hopefully we can remain up front, but definitely the Hondas seem to be running well quite now. We'll have to see what the competition does later.
For you, that confidence coming into this near season with Honda, walk us through that.
Yeah, it's been, a seamless transition, really. Obviously, it's a lot to learn. We're trying to play pretty much a 2-year catch-up with the aero kit that the others have had, but it's a lot of familiar faces. We've this team and Chip have achieved a lot with them, in the past, and lots of championships and 500s and things like that. Lots of familiar faces, as I said. So it's been pretty seamless so far. We'll have to see how it transfers into race runs.
All right, Scott Dixon, thank you so much. Guys, you said seamless already.
So, Nick, we'll get you a final comment from you about the announcement yesterday. Dallara, Firestone, Chevy, Honda, they've all re-upped.
That consistency tells everything you need to know. You talked about that New York Times article that I urge people to check out. It shows you a lot of people are on board, and I think, Mark, you and I can both agree a lot of credit deserves to go to Jay Fry, certainly to Mark Miles, and to all these companies that see the value in Verizon IndyCar Series racing. And, boy, it's a great way to start 2017.
Yep, and one of the guys we hope to see in the Verizon IndyCar Series in the not-too-distant future joined us in the broadcast booth for this session, Aaron Telitz. And, Aaron, getting ready to roll off P1 for Belardi Auto Racing. I said in my years of coaching, I tell kids, all we got to do to win is just outscore them. So all you got to do to win a race today is just not let anybody pass you in turn one. Easy as that, right?
Yeah, seems pretty easy. I think I'm going to go take a nap, get all rested up, and we'll be ready to go later this afternoon.
Is turn one a bit of a concern because of how everyone fans out on the approach?
Yeah, I'm not too concerned about it being on pole position. Maybe in race 2, I might be a little more concerned when I'm more back in the middle of the field. But being on pole, I get to choose when I accelerate to get going, and I can't control if the guys decide to go flying down and run into the back of me. If that happens, that's too bad. But I'll just run my race and hit my marks.
We know race days are very busy for you. We appreciate you spending time with us, and that door to that booth is always open no matter where we are. We'd love to have you anytime.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yep, glad to do it. Again, P1, Scott Dixon, Hinch, Rossi, Chilton, and Bourdais, your top 5 next up for us. It's one of the most harried qualifying sessions anywhere in motorsports. It's the Firestone Fast Six and the knockout qualifying formula. We'll have guys out on the course, everybody on pit road. Join us at 2:50 Eastern. And then, of course, lights race number 1 at 5:10 Eastern this afternoon. Want to thank Dave First, Katie Osborne, and Jake Query for their outstanding work on pit road. Nick Yeoman joined me in the booth. The director of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Radio Network is Wally Levitt. On-site engineering and production by Rick Evans. I'm Mark Jane. So long for now from the streets of St. Petersburg.
This is IndyCar Radio on the IMS Radio Network.
Flag is in the hands of Paul Blevins. He's waiting to see Alexander Rossi come out of turn number 4. Tom Hansing is in the stand with him, and there he goes. And Danny, he may be out of fuel. Banky very slow in turn 1.
He is indeed. It doesn't sound like he's under power. Left side wheels below the white line. Now with the short 2, now in turn 2. He may be done.
That car rolls through turn number 2, and it is under power. He has backed it down big time. Here
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to more exciting Mazda Road to Indy racing. My name is Tony Laporte, and I'm your host of Road to Indy TV this season. We're down on the grid getting ready for race number 2, but it's race number 1. It's the High Tide Kids on Track Pro Mazda Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. Anthony Martin, he was your champion in USF 2000 last year. He's in the Soul Red Mazda, which means he is racing with Mazda scholarship money to get one step closer to racing in the Verizon IndyCar Series. Anthony, coming all the way from Australia, racing here in the U.S., got to feel good coming in here with the Soul Red car and that Mazda championship money.
Yeah, for sure. The Soul Red car has been great all weekend. The Cape Motorsport boys have given me an awesome car, and I thank them enough. And I can't wait to get out there and do some racing.
Now, I just explained it briefly what the Mazda Road to Indy is. It's a ladder system designed to take young drivers out of the go-kart ranks, move them up through 3 levels of Mazda-powered racing cars, and then spit them out eventually in the Indianapolis 500. Anthony, how cool is it to know that you are one step closer now to realizing your dream of being a professional race car driver in the IndyCar Series?
Yeah, it means everything. That's the dream for, all the drivers on the grid, and it really means a lot to receive the scholarship money from Mazda, and I'm very happy to be driving their Soul Red car.
So keep your eyes, folks, on the car starting on the pole position. It's that Soul Red, the Mazda-inspired Soul Red race car of Anthony Martin. Again, he's coming off the championship in USF 2000 last year. He's leading the field to the first green flag of the season here in Pro Mazda, and he comes all the way from Kalgoorlie, Australia. He is Anthony Martin. We're getting ready for the High Tide Kids on Track Pro Mazda Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. It's Mazda Road to Indy Racing. Folks, you're going to want to keep an eye on these young kids. We're getting ready to go green in just a few minutes. Coming up next, Rob Howden will tell you where the rest of the field lines up.
Indeed, and thank you, Tony Laporta. Rob Howden joins us in the public address booth talking to Anthony Martin on the grid. Rob, the young man, impressed not only yesterday when he qualified on the pole, but he was able to repeat the feat today.
To be honest, the kid's been impressive for the last 3 years. When he first got here in 2015, it was a single kart effort with John Comiskey Racing. He is able to win the Rookie of the Year. Did a fantastic job. No teammate, no extra data. Still able to work his way, as we said, into the Rookie of the Year position. Won the championship the year after. Let's have a look at the grid, though. Anthony Martin will start on the pole position, as Tony said, out of Perth, Australia. Kalgoorlie, the hometown for the young driver. He'll run for Cape Motorsports with Wayne Taylor Racing. Your reigning champion in the USF 2000 program. He starts pole alongside a very impressive young Brazilian, Victor Franzoni. We expected him to be racing in USF 2000 this year. A deal came together just late last week. In fact, was announced on essentially when they rolled the cars out of the trailer that he was going to run for Uncos Racing. So Franzoni, a young driver with 3 wins last year in USF 2000, widely respected in the paddock as one of the best young drivers. Franzoni will start on the outside of row number 1. Moving now to row 2, starting on the inside, the driver for Team Pelfrey, the California pilot. It's T.J. Fisher. Fisher last year started in USF 2000, made the transition halfway through the year to Pro Mazda. He will start on the inside of row number 2. Alongside him, a young Brazilian driver making his rookie debut here in the program this year. Another one of those brilliant yellow Team Pelfrey cars, the rookie Carlos Cunha. In the number 81, Cunha looked good in qualifying, worked his way up into the top 3 at one point, settled for 4th in this opening of 2 races here this weekend. Cunha in the number 81. Moving to row number 3, another young rookie driver who came in late into the program, Philippe Dennis, a young kart racer here out of the U.S. Dennis in the number 15 machine, a very impressive young driver for World Speed Motorsports. Watched him come through the karting ranks. Great driver at F1600 last year. Learned a lot in that category and looks to apply that here this weekend in his debut in the Pro Mazda Championship presented by Cooper Tires. Outside of row number 3, the Russian driver who now lives in the United States, Nikita Listoshkin in the number 80. Nikita, a 2-year driver in the USF 2000 Championship, a planned graduation up to Pro Mazda this year as he looks to try to go for the championship and the Mazda scholarship money. Moving now to row number 4 on the inside, a great young driver out of Idaho, his first year in the series, ran in the Formula Car Challenge at Sonoma Raceway last year. Stingray Robb will drive the number 14 for World Speed Motorsports. He'll start alongside the driver out of Wisconsin, Max Hanratty, in the number 6. Hanratty driving for Arms Up Motorsports. This is another late addition to the series. He had expected to run with another team. That fell through. Great to have Max back here with Arms Up Motorsports, who he ran with earlier in his career. Moving now to row number 5 on the inside. Bobby Eberle, veteran driver here in the series, his third year in the program. Eberle in the number 13, continues to get quicker and quicker in the series here. He'll start 9th position in the Title Boxing Club World Speed Motorsports entry. Alongside him, a rookie driver coming into the Pro Mazda series here this year, Brendan Puderbach for Fat Boy Racing in the number 31. Puderbach starting in the 10th position. Moving now to row number 6, the driver we saw last year at the Grand Prix of Indianapolis. Kevin Davis in the Quick Lube number 44. Davis starting in the 11th position. He'll start alongside the 2016 SECA Runoffs winner in the Formula Mazda category. Just picked up this race car to come racing in the Pro Mazda Championship. Matt Machiko will drive the white number 3 again. SCCA champion in Formula Mazda. And they just picked that car up. It actually got delivered here on Thursday. They went to work on it, got it ready for him, and he has found speed in every session. Tail of the grid here, we have row number 7. Jeff Green in number 60 starting in the 13th position. Green for Juncos Racing. And on the outside for Fat Boy Racing, it's Charles Finelli in the number 83. The white and blue 83 for Finelli. He will start in the 14th position. On a bit of a hold here right now, Michael, we get things dialed in. The drivers, of course, behind the wheel and ready to go. Pro Mazda, second rung of the Mazda Road to Indy, and a different program this year. We're going to see a brand new race car next year, the PM18. Tad is built. Essentially the same chassis we saw in USF 2000, just with more aerodynamics, bigger wings, bigger tires with more grip, much more horsepower as well. Looks like we're about 45 seconds away from the command being told here right now, but we are on hold for a second. I'll fill everybody in when we're ready to go. But right now, they decided to shrink it down to just 6 weekends for Pro Mazda this year, make it a little more attractive for drivers to come. The great venues, though, of course, St. Petersburg, Barber, Mid-Ohio, Toronto, Watkins Glen, just some of the great racetracks as well. But the bottom line is, if you win this championship, you're going to Indy Lights Racing. That didn't change. And in fact, they actually upped the scholarship a little bit. So the driver's going to have a little bit more money to lean towards that Indy Lights program. The winner here is going to be in Indy Lights next year. That's the key.
We heard Aaron Telitz speaking just a little bit earlier with the IndyCar Radio Network. Aaron is the reigning Pro Mazda champion. How about Anthony Martin and Victor Franzoni? They were battling yesterday during qualifications and today during qualifications. Yeah. Anthony Martin pulls on pit lane. He's done. He's content with his provisional pull, put the laps down. And Victor Franzoni got caught in some slower traffic, finally cleared it, took him 3 laps, and he nearly got Anthony Martin for the pole for the second race.
Well,
but these two have just been neck and neck all race
You
weekend.
had nailed it, too, because he was back in 4th position, and we're wondering what's going on with Victor. Why, we expected him to be so much quicker, and he was, a second off or something like that. He was well off, maybe 0.8 of a second off. And all of a sudden, you and I looked at the one screen we're able to access where we see where the drivers are on the racetrack, and you could see that he was at the tail end of this big group of 4 guys that were significantly slower than him. He had to take the time, which you don't want to do in a qualifying session, to pass every one of those drivers. The minute he came out, turned 2 very consistent laps to bring himself close to Anthony Martin, and then that one last lap, like he snuck underneath the checkered flag to get that one last lap flyer, and we kind of thought it was going to happen, but no, he came up just short. A 1/10 of a second, 12 thousandths of a second at the line. These guys are very, very evenly matched, very impressive young drivers. It's going to be fun to see what they do here. They're going to start this year-long battle here today.
We will keep our eyes on turn 1, the USF 2000, the first rung of this Road to Indy ladder, clean through the entire race. Pro Mazda, we have 14 cars that will be starting today's race, number 1 of the 2017 campaign. 7 rows. Looking forward to getting this 2017 season for the Pro Mazda drivers underway. Going to be exciting and obviously a lot faster, a lot heavier car, a lot more horsepower, and we're getting ready to fire the engines.
This is the High Tide Kids on Track Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. And waiting with us down on pit lane, our honorary starter for today, ladies and gentlemen, Craig Wood, the owner of High Tide Boat Lifts, to give us the command to get ready to fire 17 engines, loading them up. Here he is, down to pit lane.
From everyone at High Tide Boat Lifts, drivers, start your Mazda engines.
Ah, fantastic. The sound of these Mazda engines filling pit lane as this 14-car field gets set to take to turn number 1. There you see Victor Franzoni. He will be on the outside as we pan to the left. There is the driver who will be leading the field in both events today and then again tomorrow. That is Anthony Martin from Australia, the young man in the Mazda Soul Red Racing entry. That signifying that he is the reigning champion of the rung just below. So USF 2000 champion. He'll carry the colors this year in Pro Mazda.
3 drivers with those colors here this weekend. Anthony Martin running it in the Pro Mazda category. Oliver Askew, of course, the $200,000 scholarship winner, already a second-place finish for Oliver in USF 2000. And Aaron Telitz, who you mentioned, was on board with the guys in the IndyCar radio booth. Had a quick chat with Mark Janes and Nick Yeoman. He will be running the Soul Red colors from the pole, in fact, in the first of 2 Indy Lights races here this weekend. Drivers now rolling as we are set to start the Pro Mazda Championship. As I said, a shorter schedule this year.
You see there a shot of turn 3. When we talk about the change in turn 3, that is what they have done. They've moved that wall back about 30 feet, and they put that curbing there. So when you hear the drivers talk about the change in turn 3, that what we just saw is what has happened. That's that curbing that's kicked out, and they moved the wall in turn 3 to avoid that swell in the road from the repaving, and it really has done a fantastic job.
You had a chance to talk to Anthony Martin about how that actually changed the track. We talked about the IndyCar guys were actually getting down in gear and really having to get on the brakes there. We expected the same on down the ladder system, and then you talk to Anthony, and he kind of give you a more in-depth look at what happens over there.
I said, tell me about turn 3, and Anthony said, oh, I'm flat out. I said, you're flat out. Everybody's dropping a gear or two. He goes, oh, no, I blipped the throttle, blap, and then I'm back in the throttle. I'm like, well, clearly that's why you're on the pole, because you're running flat out through turn number 3.
Dropping that. When you told me that, I brought a smile to my face. Anthony Martin's a great young man, a lot of personality. A big character. He has a lot of fun.
Great kid.
It'll be great to have him on the program. Great to get him on the podium, and we may see him here again today. I believe, folks, we are going to go green this time by Fran Bork, one of our guests from the Anderson Interior Contracting up in the tower, to throw that green flag. You want a place to watch this race, that's the place to do it, the flag stand. Ladies and gentlemen, set to go. Pro Mazda Championship Racing. Martin and Franzoni, row 1. Fisher and Kuna, row 2. Dennis Listoshkin, row 3. Rob and Hanratty, row 4. Eberly and Puderbach, row 5. Davis and Machiko, row 6. Green and Finelli, row 7. And we are underway. Green, green, green. Racing down into turn number 1. Will cooler heads prevail? A little bit of a brake lockup coming through there. They want to get through cleanly. Looking good thus far. You can see those Pelfrey drivers running in 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Good launch for Anthony Martin. He will go to P1. Martin rolling through turn number 3. Great shot there, as Michael detailed. Anthony used a little blip of the throttle, back on it. Maybe a little more this time. He'll go to the inside to try to hold the position back from Franzoni. Already on the defensive on this opening lap. He knows that the 2 of those drivers should be able to get out based on their speeds. Michael, in our qualifying sessions, those front 2 drivers should be able to stretch away early. But you can be sure that T.J. Fisher's not going to want to let them pull.
Nikita Liskoshkin doing a great job on the start of this race. He got around Philippe Dennis. Actually almost got around his teammates, all the Pelfrey drivers. He got a look to the inside as they made their way down into turn number 1. So Listoshkin moves from 6th to 5th. And there you see the field making their way through turn number 10 for the very first time. This a 30-minute race. Pro Mazda, the kickoff to the 2017 campaign. Coming out of the final 2 turns, 13 and 14 at Anthony Martin. Victor Franzoni just 2 car lengths behind.
We are on the run to the championship scholarship, the title winner, earning a berth in the 2018 Indy Lights presented by Cooper Tires Championship. Who will it be? Anthony Martin gets a good jump. He and Franzoni out to the lead. T.J. Fisher 2nd. Carlos Kuna in 3rd. Nikita Listoshkin in the 5th spot. Kuna 4th. Philippe Dennis now 6th. Max Hanratty in 7th. Stingray Robb runs 8th ahead of his teammate Bobby Eberly. Matt Machiko, quickest of the Fat Boy Racing crew. He runs 10th ahead of Puderbach. Kevin Davis in 12th. Jeff Green in 13th, and Charles Finelli in the 14th position.
Well, Nikita Listoshka, after he got around Philippe Dennis, kind of holding Dennis up now, and that's piled up Dennis, Hanratty, and Robb behind Listoshka. As there you see them working their way through turn number 9 right now. Great little battle there for 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th.
Indeed, 4 drivers trying to battle through, and as you said, Listoshkin got a great jump and was able to fight with his teammates Fisher and Kuna, but that's not kind of the case now. He's stacking them up behind him. I want to say that is it still Dennis in that position? Indeed it is. It's Philippe Dennis in the challenge position in 6th spot. Leaders stretching away as we expected. So a 2-driver battle up front as Martin and Franzoni stretch away. That is the 2 lead Team Pelfrey cars of Fisher and Kuna.
Well, Philippe Dennis close within a car length now of Nikita Listoshkin, unable to really close that gap down into turn number 1. So that battle for the 5th, 6th position kind of settling down just a little bit. And for Anthony Martin, now able just to check out from Victor Franzoni a half a second. And we talked about qualifying, how evenly matched those two cars have been. And Anthony Martin, although very smart when he gets out there, Nikita Listoshkin hungry. I mean, he nearly got the pole for race number 2. And as long as he paces Anthony Martin, keeps himself there, opportunity to attack if Anthony would make a mistake.
Well, Franzoni's just going to settle in here now. He's a veteran driver, not a young kid. He's been around for 3 years now. He can just kind of settle into the position, that challenge spot. Doesn't mind if Anthony runs a couple car lengths ahead of him. It's a long race. He knows that. Remember the distance in this particular event, a 30-minute race. And right now he can just set the pace, get a feel for the car, take care of the tires. Right up on the rear wing of Martin as they come through turn 14. At turn 14, that big sweeping right-hander. Constant radius all the way back out onto the runway. TJ Fisher pulling away from Kuna now into number 82. So Fisher firmly into the 3rd spot. P3 for Fisher. Listoshkin, Dennis, Hanratty, and Robb. That's going to be a good fight, I think, for the race. For the entire duration of this one. 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. All nose to tail.
Well, you look at how those Team Pelfrey cars were pretty much nose to tail. Fisher, Kuna, and Listoshkin. Well, Listoshkin now about 2 seconds off Kuna, his teammate, and that has, as we said, stacked up Dennis, Hanratty, and Robb. So Listoshkin not as quick as he had hoped to be after he got that 5th position, falling back, but so very difficult to pass on this race circuit. And as you said, everybody kind of settling in right now, but you expect the attack from Philippe Dennis here if Listoshkin holds him up too long.
Philippe Dennis coming out of the national karting ranks, jumped into the F1600 Championship Series last year. We've seen a lot of drivers come through that program. They actually ran for Team Pelfrey in the F1600 Series. Such a competitive program. F1600, no wings at all, no downforce. That car slides around. The driver's just always having that car pitching in every corner. A lot of car control learned in the Formula 1600 category. We'll look at lap times here as well, Michael. Listoshkin a 1:16.1. Dennis a 1:15.7 last time by 0.4 of a second.
He's holding them up.
Let's see which way they're going on lap times. If Listoshkin keeps going up, you know that Philippe Dennis will get aggressive, trying to get himself into the top 5.
Well, the top 4 are running minute 14s, and Listoshkin at a minute 16, and Dennis right behind him, as you said, a minute 15. So Philippe Dennis can't lose sight of the rest of the pack, as actually the Team Pelfrey cars have actually distanced themselves to the point now that they're 7 seconds actually ahead of Nikita Listoshkin. So the Team Pelfrey cars, obviously some issue potentially with Listoshkin. He just didn't have the pace that he had on those opening laps.
You just see that Fisher and Kuna both exactly the same last time by. Pelfrey's obviously got a good setup on the race car. Listoshkin maybe a little bit off because he ran for Cape Motorsports last year and was a pretty good driver. Put a lot of good races in for Listoshkin. He's got the capability of being able to run with his teammates.
Well, Philippe Dennis with a nice run out of turn 14. Still about 3 car lengths separating him and Listoshkin down the front straightaway. Cape Motorsports' Anthony Martin leading the way with a 0.3 of a second advantage over second place Victor Franzoni. It's Martin, Franzoni, Fisher, Kuna, Listoshkin your top 5. Dennis, Hanratty, Robb, Machiko, and Davis rounding out the top 10. We still have 23 minutes remaining in race number 1 of the Pro Mazda Series.
The thing about Anthony Martin is that he knows how to lead and he knows how to win. He got the chance to do that last year running with Cape Motorsports. 7 victories last year en route to the championship, and he did not win here last year. They did not put a Cape Motorsports car on the podium last year here at St. Petersburg. They're obviously changing that already as Oliver Askew finished second in the opening USF 2000 race. But again, as we're seeing Anthony Martin show his hand early on, he's not a guy that's going to get shaken here now. He and Franzoni coming up from USF 2000 as essentially a brand new lineup of drivers, and the only returning